Hi everyone, this is State Senator Suzi Oppenheimer with a report from the New York State Senate. And as you know, each month I try and present something that I think is going to be of interest to the people of Westchester. And today I'm going to be talking with Cauley, who is very involved in the feeding of our hungry in one particular area, Larchmont, Mamaroneck. But the fact is we have a very large problem in Westchester County, and we're going to be exploring that. And it is not the happiest topic we have ever discussed, but it is one that I think we must face the reality. So I welcome you here, Carol. Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
And we're just going to go chatting away about the work you do and how you find the work you do and the difficulty in the work you do.
Okay.
So just start, Carol, with a little bit about the organization.
Okay. The Hunger Task Force was founded in 1993, so this has been our 15th year of operation. And as I mentioned to you before we went on air, I think our founders never expected that we would be feeding as many families as we are currently.
And the founders were?
Julie Sibley, who was a social worker with the Village of Mamaroneck, Pastor Bill Shillity, who was at the Mamaroneck Methodist Church, Cindy Goldstein, Gerhard Spies, and Mary Davis was on the founding board. So
all wonderful, wonderful people.
Absolutely. Lots of great energy, great organizational skills.
In fact, I'm curious as to where Bill Shillity is nowadays.
He is at, I should know this, the Park Avenue Methodist Church in the city. He's in Manhattan.
Really? Oh, lovely.
That's not true. He just moved to the City Society for the Methodist Church, which is more of an administrative job. That's in recent months, so
that's good.
Still doing great things.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
So when you started in 1992, three. What'd you think back then?
Well, I actually didn't live here in 93. I moved here in 1994, and they were well organized and well oiled when I arrived. And I just took the number off a bulletin board because I was looking for a way to plug into the community, and walked in, and Cindy Goldstein gave me a job, and it was downhill from there.
Well, how many people were you feeding
back then?
And how often, and where is it done, held, and stuff like that?
We have been very fortunate that the Mamaroneck Cap Center, since our inception, has offered us space gratis. We have a beautiful brand new basement there. After the flood of April '07, that space was completely rehabilitated, and we've had a closet down there where we do our storage, and then we use the whole floor for the packing of the groceries. So they've been our hosts over the years, and that has saved us, obviously, considerable money. We don't have to pay rent anywhere, and that's at 134 Center Avenue in Mamaroneck. And I think the very first time they opened, they fed about 85 families. I mean, it was significant in 1993. I was surprised when I went back and looked at the statistics a couple years ago. And we've operated on the same schedule ever since. We're only open twice a month. The whole premise of this organization was not like a shelter or a soup kitchen. It's definitely a pantry that is designed to help people stretch their money through the course of a month. So we're open twice a month, usually the second and fourth weeks, depending on school vacations. And we provide a bag of non-perishables, and in the last couple of years, quite a bit of fresh produce, including bread and eggs, and that's been a great addition because canned beans and canned chili get old very fast. And nutritionally, it's been a lot better for people to be getting the fresh things. And that's about 3 or 4 days worth of food, we guess, depending on how many are in your family. And we have different size bags.
How do people qualify to come in for?
Generally, we serve residents of Larchmont and Mamaroneck. We have been expanding our services to include Harrison families. Harrison does have a pantry, but it operates on a bit of a smaller basis, and so we've had some Harrison folks coming to us, so we've started serving them. And we use 185% of the federal poverty guideline as our income calculator. We're not particularly strict because the rents here are so exorbitant that you could make a little bit more money than that and still have nothing left. And those are, you know, it's like $1,500 per month for one person, and then it's stepped up for additional people in the family. But it's not much money.
So what percentage of the poverty level?
85% of the federal poverty guidelines.
185, because some of our programs, our state programs, are 200%, but that's quite close to 185% of poverty. Yeah. And it depends. I mean, if you have a youngster, 19 years old, going to Westchester Community College, you know, even with all the assistance that is potentially there, you know, between loans and grants and stuff we try to do, the state of New York. I don't know how they manage.
Oh, I don't either, because disposable income has continued to shrink over the last, I don't know how many years, and it's, you can see it in people's faces. It's frightening, I think, particularly right now.
I just told a story about, I just came here from sending a gift to someone, and it was a popular gift store. And in the 15 minutes I was in there, I was the only person in there.
Oh, really?
Which is amazing this time.
Yeah, yeah, you expect crowds at this point.
But so let's say we started off with 85 families, which surprises me for 15 years ago. I wouldn't have thought that.
Right.
Then what did you see? What was the progression through the years? Where I mean, certainly the early 90s were pretty hard hit, 90, 91. But you tell me.
Yeah.
How did it run?
I'm trying to remember. It used to be that when we hit 200 families for one distribution, we all looked at each other and said, wow, we hit 200. That was a really big number. And I would say that mentality was, this is 2008, 6 years ago. At Thanksgiving, we fed 413 families. So the change has been exorbitant. And just in 2007, our average monthly number was 230 families. This year, it's pretty close to 300 every 2 weeks.
Oh my.
So 2007, towards the end of the year, was difficult because of the flood. We had an influx of new clients who really were struggling to get back on their feet after they'd lost everything in the flood. And then we expected that would go away when people got back on their feet. But you know, that's when the economy started struggling, and it's just been increasing ever since.
Now, have you been able to maintain, how can you maintain the quantity of food? I mean, is it, as the families increase that are coming in, how do you have enough to keep going?
It's a great question, and I'm delighted to answer it, because we are so blessed in this community with the generosity of the families that live here. The bottom line is, people who have are willing to share in an amazingly generous way. We do an annual fundraiser, just a letter, in November, and we've been having these ongoing discussions in the last few months about, okay, what are we going to do if this is just a bust? Well, we have a significant nest egg, because after the flood, people flooded us with donations financially. And we have always taken the position that people don't give us their money to put it in a savings account. We have to have some rainy day money, but so we had purposefully increased our budget this year to overspend some of that extra, and that's what has seen us through this year. What we budgeted may end up being what we spend, not necessarily on what we planned to. By increasing the budget, we were going to add frozen chickens every month and some ground beef, things that we don't normally buy. So we haven't been able to do that, but we've been able to keep up with the demand for food, and I'm really excited that it doesn't look like we're going to have any difficulty meeting our budget next year, because the income that we're getting right now from our letter is amazing. It's a very basic need. I think it really speaks to where people want to help. Because if you're hungry or worrying about whether you're going to have enough money to buy food for your kids next week, it impacts how well you do your job, all the things, you know, that can significantly change your life, your health. So I think it.
Well, you can, you know, I think people feel that though it isn't wise, you can do without going to the doctor. Yeah, you can do without some other things that we really think are important to try to, but you cannot do without food.
Right, right.
I mean, you can maybe even do for a while without a home.
Right, right.
I mean, some way you'd be taken care of in a shelter, or, but you cannot live without food.
You gotta eat. You gotta eat.
So I think you're right. It is certainly the most basic of all our needs.
Right.
And to think that in Westchester County, we would have people going to bed hungry. And, you know, sometimes I'm speaking with Christine Rowayton.
Oh, at the food bank?
Yes.
Yes.
I have trouble with her last name, like everybody else does.
Rohawayton
or something.
Rohazetsky.
Rohazetsky, yes. And, you know, now we're seeing that we may not be able to feed
Oh, right. They're
everyone
definitely.
in Westchester.
The Journal News had a front page story, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago. It was the front door of a pantry in Ossining that said, out of food, closed. And
I mean, that breaks your heart.
it absolutely does. But here's what's different about here. I had 4 phone calls within 24 hours from people saying, are you going to be in trouble? Do you need money? Because I'll write you a check.
Yeah.
You can't beat that. And we don't want to have to be feeding this many people. People much prefer to be taking care of themselves and buying their own food, because they don't really get to choose what we're giving them. But in the current environment, it's really great for us to be able to continue to help people and know that we have the community's support to do it.
I wonder how many other food banks we have. I know we have in Westchester something like close to 200 sites for food,
right.
Be it soup kitchens or food pantries. But
that sounds about right, yeah.
It's just extraordinary.
It is.
And it is so contrary to what I hear up in Albany, you know, oh,
is that
you're
right?
all rich
that's
in Westchester.
Well,
you know.
It's true. When I moved here, I didn't know much about the area at all, and I was surprised to see this flyer in the first place, a food pantry in Larchmont and Mamaroneck. Just didn't seem to make sense. And you do continue to hear people say that. Why do we need a food pantry here? The people we serve are not homeless. That's the other, you know, the thing I get from kids if I speak at schools. Well, we know what you do. You feed the homeless. Well, no. In 15 years, I've seen 2 homeless people that we've served that have come in living in their cars, but they don't stay here long. These are people that are right on the edge. They have a place to live, they're having trouble paying for it, and then they're having trouble buying their food. And the transition is for those people when it gets too tough, then they move someplace else. And that's why our clientele changes from, you know, every 6 months to a year.
Oh, well, that's another question I wanted to ask. How consistent is the clientele?
Yeah.
Are they normally the same people that come in every 2 weeks? Normally.
We have some clients that have been served by us since we were first open. We have a lot of seniors that we do serve every 2 weeks. One of the trends that we've been watching over the last 6 months as our numbers have increased is, yes, we're serving a lot of new families, but some of the difference is our old clients are coming every 2 weeks, whereas they might have only come once a month, or they might have come every 6 weeks, because that's they needed just a little bit of help. Now they're coming every 2 weeks. because their money's not going as far, or the second worker in the household lost their job. Now they only have one income. I actually looked at our most recent registration forms because we ask about employment and income levels. And of the 24 that were from 2 weeks ago, only 3 of them said no employment. They all had some kind of employment income. So we're not talking about people generally without jobs either. They're all doing something to try to take care of themselves.
Well, that's a problem across America, but particularly a problem in New York. Through tax policies, basically, and other policies, we have increased the gap between our poor and rich, so that in New York State, we have the largest gap in the United States.
Oh, is that right? I didn't realize that. Of course, there are a lot of taxes here, that's true.
And a lot of our policies have taken our wealthier residents off, somewhat off the hook. Certainly our state tax policy has. And also our federal, under President Bush, we have seen this gap grow. Our very poorest who are working do have the earned income tax credit. So they, and I keep urging them to come forward, because it is very likely that they will get money from the federal government. So,
but you have to ask for it, right? I mean, you have to apply for it.
They have to know about it.
Yeah.
So if you have an opportunity, maybe I should get a little flyer out.
That would be great.
To all my food pantries and my soup kitchens, because the fact is, many do not even apply for it. And normally, if you're in a full-time wage situation, but it's very low wage, like many of our service industries, you'll get a check from the federal government.
I would love to have a flyer. I mean, we always have information out on the table.
Okay.
English and Spanish would be most helpful.
Yeah, we've been doing, as a matter of fact, we did in this last campaign of mine, we did so many flyers in Spanish, more than English.
More than English.
We started handing out Spanish, and people were saying, we wish we studied better, but we cannot read your flyer.
Right. Oh, that's funny.
But we will be changing our tax policies now that the administration has changed. And we will be changing it also at the state level as well as the federal. And I think we will see more participation by the wealthier segment of society than has been true in the last 8 years, which I think is all to the better, because these people who work so hard, they work 2 jobs, sometimes more, and they still are not able to take care of their family. That's an outrage.
Right.
That's an outrage.
Right.
So, so tell me about the process of how you start this, and taking the packages out on Tuesday.
Okay.
We may be able to get some workers
Absolutely.
here.
We are an all-volunteer organization, so everybody is welcome. Generally, you have to have a good heart and strong legs. We have 3 volunteer shifts. On Tuesday mornings, we work in the morning. The food is delivered. We purchase as much as we can from the food bank for Westchester, because it's amazingly cheaper than buying it elsewhere. And whatever they don't have in inventory, we purchase from a wholesaler who delivers to us. But so we have a crew of volunteers there to bring the food in and set it up on the tables. And then from 5:15 to 6:30-ish, we have folks coming in to pack the groceries into the bags, which I know you've been a part of that.
A lot of teenagers.
A lot of teenagers.
That's great.
Kids love to come do that. It's a great way for them to feel like they're making a difference in the community, and they are. And it's not real difficult. It's like an assembly line.
Yeah.
You do the peanut butter, you do the jelly. And then Tuesday evening from 7 to 8:30, we serve clients, which is a much smaller group of volunteers, but that's where we're carrying bags upstairs. And then we serve clients again on Wednesday mornings from 9 to 11.
So the ones on Tuesday evening that come by, are they people who are more frail? Is that
Tuesday evening, generally those are mostly people that are working, so they're not able to get there on Wednesdays.
Gotcha.
Wednesday morning, I have 4 sets of volunteers who do home delivery to 55. When you say frail, that's what reminded me of that. They're generally homebound, elderly, or actually we have some middle-aged adults who are homebound. So we deliver the food to them.
That's quite a service.
Well, it's a great thing to be able to do. 55 is a lot. We started out with 20, I think. But it's great that the older people are living a long time, and that's a nice thing.
I wonder if we have, I knew years ago we used to have a Meals on Wheels.
We still do.
In, okay.
Yeah, Ann Stone and Shirley Romney help coordinate that out of the village.
And it's done through the Village of Mamaroneck.
Right.
Yeah, that's when we started that when I was mayor a long time ago.
It's a great thing, because I think for so many of the people who are served, that may be the only person they see during the day, and it's a nice social aspect, which my volunteers find delivering food, which is not prepared meals, but for some of our clients who don't get out, we're the only social contact with that person. It's really kind of
It's the isolation that sets in, you know.
Yep.
There's agencies, I know of one in the city for older people, I think above the age of 65, where they send a visitor at least once a week to spend an hour and just sit and chat. It's called Dorot, D-O-R-O-T. But I don't know if we have anything like that up here.
I'm not aware of it, but it would be a great
thing. It's such a wonderful idea.
Absolutely.
And they offer classes. If they have a TV, they offer special classes for this group, which is geared pretty much to, you know, the fact that they are older and, you know.
And it keeps them connected with something.
Exactly. I'll have to see if there's a model like that up here. I know some folks down there. I'll give a call, because that would be wonderful for some of our seniors. Now, do you, well, I guess it's food, not called food bank anymore. What do we call that now? The Overbody, Christine's.
It is. It used to be Food Patch.
Food Patch. Now it's Food Bank.
Right.
I was mixing which transitions. Now they get a good amount of food from Second Harvest.
Right.
And they acquire that. Well, I'll just mention, since I put that in the hopper, I better well explain it. This is an agency in Chicago. That's where the offices are. And they have arrangements with large processing houses like Kraft, the old General Foods. And their overage they will give, I guess, at a reduced cost to Second Harvest, and at very good prices.
Right.
And then Second Harvest merely requires for them to ship directly from where the food is being processed to, let's say, the warehouse in Westchester, is you must have a certain quality of warehouse.
Storage? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we only met that requirement, it must have been about, maybe 12, 14 years ago, when they came to me and asked if they could get, if I would get them a member item to buy a refrigerator. And I said, well, of course I'll get you a refrigerator.
You didn't know what they meant.
Meanwhile, knocked my sock off, I tell you. I think that particular year, you know, usually I try and give a little bit of money to these small organizations that are really serving the social service needs. That year, I think Christine took the
whole budget.
Christine,
Probably.
it was someone else took probably my whole budget.
It was probably a $20,000 20,000 square foot refrigerator.
No, they put me in it to take a picture, just because it was supposed to be funny, and it was funny, because it was like a building.
Yeah.
And it had to be a good maybe 30 feet high, and with shells, and they took a picture of me standing in this building. It looked like a building within a building,
Right.
and I looked like a little Lilliputian.
It was a great purchase, a great investment, because that's why they're able to provide us with so much more fresh stuff now.
And so that's
they have
how
the
we
storage for it.
originally got into the second harvest, and now the fresh stuff, do they provide to you, or do you go out?
Oh no, they
They
buy
provide
it from
it.
them,
Yes,
yeah.
they buy it now because yes, right.
And some of the fresh comes to us free. They have a green, what they call the Green Thumb program.
Yeah.
That is donated produce from local growers. Volunteers come in and pack it up, and there's a pre-packed bag, and we can get, we get 150 or 175 bags of that to give out. It doesn't cost us anything. It's
Oh my
wonderful.
God. Well, there's wonderful examples around Westchester where they do donate the food. For example, what's grown, the food that they grow. I forget which prison, they have a very large garden.
Nice, very nice.
A very large garden, and it is all donated to.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
And it's a wonderful activity for the prisoners.
Right.
They get outside, they do something positive, they feel good about themselves.
Yeah. We don't have one real close here, unfortunately.
No, fortunate
good.
or
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunate, I don't know.
It's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
Though I do represent Ossining all the way on the other side of the county, and they do have some really wonderful programs there. So this is just one of them, but they have some amazing things happening there, which is to make the prisoner better able to re-enter society, with some understanding of the interests, and they have one program that's directed to the arts, and they put on theatrical, very good theater, I must say, at least 2-3 times a year. But we're not, back to us, feeding our hungry. So you feel that even though we may see an uptick in the number of people coming in, that we will be able to sustain our.
I believe we will.
So what are we going to do about Ossining?
That's.
I think that's where my next member item goes.
Yeah.
Because we cannot have people not eating. Of the people that come in, what percentage are youth? Let's say under the age of teenagers, so 12 and under.
That I can't tell you. Our age breakdown is 0 to 18, 18 to 65, and then over 65. Almost 35% of our numbers are children under the age of 18. And we've served, I just added them up, over 20,000 people this year.
Oh my Lord.
So.
And many of them are these repeat.
Yes,
Most of them
yeah,
are these
that's not
repeats.
20,000
right.
separate.
And you don't get many that are just passing through, as you say.
Very rarely. But I clean my client cards out every few months, and you look at one and they came twice, then they left. And it's the challenge of our business to estimate how much food we're going to need every 2 weeks, because the numbers do fluctuate a little bit, not significantly. The challenge this year was Thanksgiving, because last Thanksgiving is always our spike. It's like our highest of everything.
Yeah.
2007, Thanksgiving was 305 families. So given the trend of this year, we were all going, wonder what we're going to see this year, because we're seeing 300 regular clients.
Yeah, and how many was it?
We planned for 400, and we had 413.
Oh, thank God we had enough.
Absolutely. And
well, I think I have to wrap up. So, Carol, just God bless you.
Thank you. God has blessed me, and I am.
And you are giving back.
Yeah.
You know, the people that put themselves out, and not only are they volunteering, it probably ends up costing them.
No, we're not going to go there.
And I just want to thank Carol Cauley and all the people who are helping to feed the hungry in our county. This is State Senator Suzi Oppenheimer signing off with a report from the New York State Senate.